Hello and welcome in, everyone. We are going to give people a couple of minutes to sign in. Sometimes, it's lunch hour here on the East Coast, so people are maybe joining late. So let's give them a few minutes to join and we will get started. Well, here in the Western Hemisphere, we are coming into summer and we are ending the semester in most of the schools. So congratulations to the grads out there. And if you haven't graduated recently, well, congratulations that you made it through half of the year so far. So we're going to get started now. Welcome, everyone. If you haven't joined us before, this is a series we started in January. And today we are going to be covering keywords, going from confusion to clarity, demystifying keywords to land that dream job. And before we get started, we'll just do a little bit of housekeeping. My name is Elizabeth Senna, and I'm a career coach here with the CDO. Today's topic will be keywords, and we will be demystifying what keywords are, because there's a lot of confusion about what they mean, how they're used, why they're important. And so today we're going to clarify that for you. So we'll define keywords, tell you why they're important, and then of course, how do we use that in our job search, which is critical, and then the takeaways and wrap up. And then at the end, we will open it up for Q&A. So let's get started. Why is there so much confusion around keywords? Well, there's a lot of confusion because there's a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of this information comes from career bloggers who maybe have misconstrued statistics, who don't really themselves understand what keywords are. It's also from software companies who are trying to sell software to optimize your resume. So I want to talk a little bit about where this confusion comes from. What are they saying about keywords? And then I'm going to go into each category and really clear it up for you. So some of what you'll hear in the marketplace is keywords are only for technical skills, or you should only use them in your resume. One of the other things that I heard a lot, and unfortunately I see this mistake a lot when I coach individuals, is stuff as many keywords into your resume, into your cover letter, into your LinkedIn profile, as many as you possibly can. And then of course, the one that is quite irritating, but very common, is use keywords to trick the ATS, that mean ATS. So we're going to start with just defining them so we can clear up that confusion up front. What are keywords? Well, keywords are words that are used by recruiters and hiring managers to identify individuals for a specific role based on their skills and experience. Really no mystery at all. It's really that simple. It's identifying individuals based on their skills and experience. Okay, so that is the definition. But how are they really used? I'm going to talk a little bit about the recruitment funnel today and why keywords are important in managing this recruitment funnel. Now, I'm going to assume that the job has been posted, that a job description has been written, and now we have applicants. And if it's a role that is difficult to find, we may have few applicants. But if it's a role that's very popular, or the marketplace, there's an overabundance of talent in the marketplace like we have today. So obviously the labor market is important, and the number of applicants you get for a specific role, just how common the skills are. It will determine whether you have a high volume of applicants or you have very few applicants. And so the recruiter and the hiring manager have to figure out a way to screen and filter these applicants. So let's suppose that we have a role and we've received 1,000 applications. There's not enough manpower on a recruiting team to go through those applications one by one. So the recruiter and the hiring manager will go through the job description and will identify keywords that are relevant for that job. And again, keywords are skills and experience that are relevant for that specific role. And they will use those words to take all these applicants and filter them down to candidates. And a candidate and an applicant are two different things. An applicant is someone who's just applied for the job. A candidate is someone who's now met the criteria, the basic requirements for that role based on skills and experience. So hiring managers and recruiters use them to identify these top candidates, to filter from 1,000 to, let's say, 20. So now we have a much more manageable flow of candidates. 20 is a much more manageable number, and the recruiter can then start doing some screens. But maybe this is a really difficult role to fill. I mean, now in the age of AI, we have a lot of roles out there that are AI roles, looking for machine learning experience, looking for large language models experience. Now, those skills or sets are harder to find. So the recruiter may have to, in addition to looking at the people who have applied, they may need to go into the ATS and see if there are other applicants that applied for other jobs that meet the criteria using these keywords. They may look on LinkedIn Recruiter. Actually, they will look on LinkedIn Recruiter. That's really the number one tool they will use. But they will also look at databases, job board databases. They may look at very niche databases or niche specific websites. And then they will start qualifying these individuals based on the keywords. And eventually from that 20, maybe 10 will make the interviews. And from the interview process, out of the 10, maybe 5 will go into final interviews. And then you'll get to an offer, and then you'll go into onboarding. So this is how recruiters and hiring managers use it. And so I'm going to get a little more specific here. Which categories are important when recruiters and hiring managers are looking for talent? So normally it's 3 areas they look at. They look at titles, they look at skills, and they look at technical skills or technologies or tools specific to that role. So we're going to assume, for the purpose of today, that this hiring manager is looking for a senior director of product. So the recruiter has to put together her search string or his search string to look through the ATS or the applicants who applied to start really screening people in and screening people out. So they may look on the variation of the title. Maybe in a smaller organization, the person is not called a senior director. Maybe they're called a VP of product. Maybe they're called a head of product. Maybe it's a group product manager. So the recruiter will use a variation on the title to find individuals that might fit this role. They will also look at skills. So if we're looking at the world of product, we want to look at product strategy, product roadmap, market research, customer insights. We might look at user experience, design. It's very important for a product leader to really work well cross collaboratively with all the functions. You're working with engineering, you're working marketing, you're working, with user experience. So great collaboration skills. And let's say also for this role, we want direct to consumer experience. So the recruiter is not going to look at resumes with someone, for example, who only has B2B experience. Here we're looking at B2C experience. And when we're looking at technical skills, we might want to look at Agile. Most product managers will have a really extensive experience in Agile, so we will add that to the search string. And let's suppose that this is in an industry that is consumer facing, or maybe they're in media. So we will want to put that into the search string. We will add those keywords. It could be software as a service. And then of course you have tools very specific for collaboration and project management, like Trello or Jira or Asana. So we'll add that to the search string. And that's how a recruiter will sort of develop this search string and identify people who have applied or people who have not applied, and they just might want to go looking for them. So this is the perspective of the recruiter and how they use keywords to find individuals. Now, I'll talk a little bit about the applicant tracking system because a lot of the media out there around keywords is really around applicant tracking systems and tricking applicant tracking systems. We have to trick the applicant tracking system because it's automatically screening us out. We have to have an ATS-friendly resume. Well, I'm sorry to say, all those things are false. So I would like to separate fact from fiction and explain to you a little bit about what an ATS actually does so that there's no confusion. And certainly there's no reason for you to try to beat it. You actually want to be inside the ATS because recruiters are constantly looking at their ATS for candidates or applicants, I should say. So what does an ATS do? It basically manages candidate flow. So you've applied to the job, you might have applied to lots of different jobs. The applicant tracking system tracks the progress of your application. So at any given time, a recruiter can take a look and see this person has applied, they're already in interview stage, or this person has applied for a variety of roles in the company, and they've applied to my role. So that recruiter might have to have an internal conversation with another recruiter who's working on the other role you applied to and say, hey, I have this individual who's applied to my role and they've applied to yours as well. How are they doing? How are they doing in the process? Can I reach out to them? So those conversations happen also in the ATS. Some ATS systems are more sophisticated than others. And I would say all companies have an ATS. Yale has an ATS. And even smaller companies have one. And it could be as crude as an Excel spreadsheet or a very sophisticated one that, for example, integrates a scheduling tool. So it automatically schedules interviews. The ATS also is a repository for all the communication between you and the company as it relates to that job. So if you send an email to the recruiter, if you have questions about the job, if you have comments, feedback, all of that goes into the ATS. And then, of course, it can generate an offer, automatically generate an offer. It has Boolean search capabilities so that the recruiter can look in it and find more talent. And so what's the fiction part of all the things you hear out there? Well, a lot of what I hear is it automatically screens people out. And this is false. Most of this functionality doesn't exist in the legacy systems, or if it does exist, it's not necessarily turned on. There is no skill and job matching capabilities. That's a very sophisticated thing to do. And most of the systems do. Even if the functionality exists, it really doesn't work as well as they are marketed. And so most companies make a decision to turn off that functionality. The ATS doesn't predict your success either. It doesn't have that kind of sophistication. It doesn't exist. And certainly AI is not being used to screen you out. This is still in early days of AI. Most Fortune 500 companies, I would say, are more risk adverse. And so they will not necessarily turn on this functionality because there's a lot of data privacy and compliance regulations that they have to actually meet. And so most of this functionality is not turned on. Ultimately, recruiters and hiring managers still make the ultimate decision about your application and your candidacy for that role. So we've covered the definition. We've covered why it's important. We've covered how hiring managers and recruiters use keywords and what the applicant system tracking system does and does not do. So now we will talk about how you can use these keywords in your job search. So how do you know how to use keywords or what keywords are important as it relates to you and the jobs that you're targeting? Well, you've got to do homework. That means you have to go out and look at job descriptions. I would say look at more than one, because in general, I would say job descriptions are not written very well. They're really very generic most of the time. There's a lot of cutting and pasting going on. And so sometimes it's difficult to actually, even as a recruiter, understand what someone is looking for because they're so generic. So I would encourage you to just go out and look at several job descriptions and even use AI, any of the AI tools to help you identify the keywords in that job. You can run it through ChatGPT or Meta or Bard, and basically do a prompt. Say the prompt would be, pretend you're an executive recruiter and you are use this job description to identify the keywords, the most important keywords in this job description. And the tool will then tell you what the important keywords are. So I'm going to give you an example just to make it a little more clear. And throughout all of these examples, I'm going to be using this role, which is a senior director role in product management playback. And this is for Sirius Radio. So what I've done is I've taken out the extraneous information from the job description, and I've only put here the basic requirements of the job. So normally you find this at the bottom of the job description after the summary and the responsibilities. And that's where I would encourage you to go as well. Yes, the summary is important as well as the responsibilities, but here are the basic requirements. Why am I telling you to look at the basic requirements? The reason I'm telling you is because recruiters have a checklist, and their checklist is based on these requirements. So for them, if you do not meet the basic requirements, it is highly unlikely that you are going to be screened in for the next step in the process. So the basic requirements are critical for them doing the right assessment that you fit for the role, and they're also critical for you as a job seeker. So if you're looking at a job description, here are some of the keywords that I pulled out as I looked at this job description. So yes, they mentioned bachelor's degree or a combination of education and experience. That's sort of very generic language, so I ignored it. But it says 10 years of product management experience. I highlight team leadership experience, initiating product roadmaps based on customer insights and data. They want a portfolio of work in the subscription space, which makes sense since it's Sirius Radio and it's subscription-based business. They want experience leading product teams in the media space. They also want direct-to-consumer experience, and then they mentioned digital technology. So here the important keywords are team leadership, direct-to-consumer, product roadmaps, customer insights. Under technologies, I put digital technology, media, and subscription experience. So here I've highlighted skills and tools and technologies that are important and experience. So this is a way for you to quickly go through a job description and identify these keywords that you will then use throughout the other tools of your job search. So we know the tools now, we know the skills and the titles and the tools and technologies they're looking for. So now we want to incorporate these in your resume. Now, I've seen a lot of creativity with titles. People like to make up titles, because it sounds sexier. I would encourage you not to make up titles unless they're tied to how they're described in the market. If you make up a title, it's very difficult for people to find you because a recruiter won't know that you've made up this very creative title, as creative as it may be, and you won't be found. So title is important. Here we have customer insights, product strategy, product roadmaps, and team leadership, which are the same skills that I had already identified in the job description. And here we have text. So here I've now incorporated it into your resume. Product leader with 10 years of experience in managing large teams, successfully driving product development, product roadmaps, and product strategy. So right away, I've hit product roadmaps, product strategy, team leadership, proven track record of driving revenue growth and team success, skilled in roadmap development, consumer-facing digital products, and agile methodologies. So here I've hit now consumer facing, so it's a direct to consumer. I've hit on digital products. I've already highlighted agile, and then I ended with extensive experience in media and technology. So I've basically now hit all the keywords that I identified in the job description, and I've now embedded it into your resume. So now we want to do the same exercise, and we want to embed this into your cover letter. And move this around so I can see myself. So we've identified the keywords. Again, we said customer insights, data-driven, product strategy. We have the leadership keywords as well. So strategic thinking, problem solving, team leadership, and here industry keywords, media, digital products. I probably should have included subscription, but for the sake of this exercise, we'll just say media and digital products. So here I've taken the keywords, I've already incorporated a paragraph into my resume, and now I really want to hit my cover letter and make a case for myself for this role by highlighting those keywords. So here the paragraph is, with a decade of experience in media. Now remember, they wanted 10 years of experience in product management. So here I'm hitting already 10 years of experience. With a decade of experience in media, I'm a data-driven product leader, passionate about creating exceptional user experiences. In my previous role, I spearheaded the development and launch of a new mobile entertainment platform, leading a team of 5 product managers. So just in that line alone, I've hit on product development, mobile, so consumer facing, leading a team of product managers. So I've hit already on data-driven, product roadmap, team leadership, and then now I'm really going to talk about results, again, using the same keywords that I've used now in the resume that I highlighted in the job description. This strategic initiative, strategy, so here we're talking about my strategic thinking. The strategic initiative resulted in a 20% increase in mobile adoption and a 15% improvement in customer satisfaction. Through a user-centric approach, we leverage data insights to design a seamless and user-friendly experience for our customers. User-centric approach, data insights. Here again, I've hit all the keywords. So if a recruiter is reading this cover letter and reading it quickly, which most of the time they're doing, they're going to see these keywords highlighted, and these are the keywords that are important for that specific job description. So now we also want to incorporate these into your LinkedIn profile. So we want to make sure that there's congruence and there's consistency in your LinkedIn profile, in the way you describe yourself in your resume, and in the way you talk about your experience in your cover letter using these keywords. So here I've highlighted 2 people. Rick, who is a product manager at Neuron AI, and his headline reads, product management, software as a service, and consumer products. He might be someone I would want to talk to for this job because he has software as a service, he has consumer products experience. And here now I'm reading his about section, and his about section, he says, I worked in a diverse industries in software as a service, enterprise and consumer products, prioritize the needs of end users, demonstrated ability to foster collaboration and alignment among different stakeholders, including engineering, design, and marketing. So cross collaboration, we like that. We like that he's talked about the sectors he's worked in, and then the strengths. And here he does a really good job talking about SaaS, competitive analysis, user research, customer platform, product roadmaps, API integration, go-to-market, agile, data analytics. So the same keywords that were in the job description, this product manager knows enough that these are really important terms that they use in his industry. So he's highlighting those in his about section. And here I put on another example from someone at Grubhub. She's the director of product at Grubhub. And in her headline, she has commerce, monetization, and advisor. And here, if you look at her profile, she says, my career in product manager commenced at JP Morgan, where I was instrumental in developing embedded payment solutions tailored for e-commerce, small and medium-sized businesses. Then she became a product leader at Vimeo, so she has experience in financial services, video technology, monetization. So very quickly, I see that this person has worked across a diverse industries, has done monetization. She highlighted monetization, but she's also done analytics work. She's worked B2B, B2C, and I can see that pretty quickly. So this is how you would embed it into your LinkedIn profile. Clear so far? So now I'm also going to talk about the common mistakes that you should avoid when you are talking about keywords. So keywords cannot be too generic. So rather than saying I'm a marketing leader, I would like to know that you are an expert in digital marketing, social media marketing, content marketing, SEO. So rather than be generic, be very specific and use the language of your industry to show the breadth of your experience. Marketing is very broad. It's a huge umbrella. And maybe someone is only doing communications in marketing. Maybe someone's only doing branding, or maybe someone is only doing market research and they don't get to see the entire life cycle of marketing. It's very important for you to be as specific as possible when you're using keywords. One thing to absolutely avoid is please do not give me 25 keywords if you have nothing to corroborate, if you don't have experience that corroborates that keyword. So it might sound sexy to say machine learning, but if nothing in your resume can talk to your experience in machine learning, then there's no reason for you to use that word, machine learning, because you have nothing to corroborate. Whatever keyword you use has to be corroborated by the experience in your jobs. So very simple. Please avoid using too many keywords that you can't substantiate. And again, here, not tying it to title, not tying it to skills and tools. Again, I referenced this earlier. Don't make up titles that have no relevance in the marketplace. Do your homework so that you know the keywords that are being used in your market. And the reason to do homework is because the market is constantly changing. Someone who was in marketing 15 years ago may not have the level of data analytics experience they wouldn't have had 15 years ago that they do today, because today you have a lot more tools that are now monitoring ROI on spend, and there are a lot more marketing analytics tools out there that marketers use. So you have to constantly stay on top of the market. And also, obviously, you have your own job and you know that your job has changed. And maybe the tools that you were using 5 years ago, now you're using a completely different set of tools because the function has changed. So the takeaways. So we talked today about keywords. We've defined what they are, that they're based on skills and experience, and they're used by hiring managers and recruiters to review resumes, to identify top candidates, and even just to identify prospects. I've asked you also to do your homework. When you're trying to identify keywords for yourself, go out and read as many job descriptions as possible. If you have a hard time, this is not always an easy exercise to do. Use the AI tools. They're there at your disposal, and you can create prompts so that you can identify those keywords quickly, and then embed those keywords in all of the tools you use in your job search, in your resume, in your cover letter, in your LinkedIn profile. I mean, you could even embed them in your story. I didn't include here your story, but certainly you can use these keywords as you answer the question, tell me about yourself. And last, avoid overusing them if you cannot corroborate it with experience. There is no point in listing 30 different skills that are not actually relevant to the jobs that you have done. So with that, we are going to open it for questions and see what questions you have about keywords. I don't see questions coming in. Well, I will ask a question of you. Was this clear? And is there any confusion about keywords now that we have gone through the webinar? And hopefully you've gone from confusion to clarity. Any questions for me before we wrap up? Okay, 1 second. I have a shy group today. Okay, go ahead with your question. I think someone raised their hand. Go ahead and ask your question. You can type it into the Q&A. Hope.
Hi, okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. So you said, don't list keywords, obviously, that you don't have experience in and can't talk to. So when you have your list of keywords, is there like a numerical threshold that you have to hit, like 70 or 80% of the keywords in order for the recruiter to take your resume in? Or
if you go back to what I said about basic requirements, it should be the keywords in those basic requirements that you have to hit those. And sometimes companies will list 5 basic requirements. Sometimes they'll list 10. You need to hit all of them in the basic requirements category.
100% for that category. Got it. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, we have a very quiet group today and we don't have a lot of questions. I am going actually to do a poll before we close today, as we would like to continue to do a series of webinars, but we always are soliciting your feedback. And I would love to know from you if there are certain topics that are unclear for you that you would like us to cover in the upcoming webinars. So if you have ideas of webinars that you'd like to see in the future, please type them in to the poll and I will make sure that I address those questions in the upcoming webinars. Let's see the answers. Angela, I don't know if you'll see the answers because I don't see them. Okay, we're going to leave that. I'll leave that open for a couple of minutes. Don't be shy. If there are things you want to learn about, please jump right in. I will do one on networking, and I think I'm going to just rebrand that entire word because it's been so misconstrued. Okay, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to close out the poll. Don't see the results. I don't see the results, but I will definitely incorporate them in the future. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that this was helpful and that things about, if I ask you a question about keywords, that they will be extremely clear. Thank you again for joining. Let me just make sure there are no outstanding questions since I just saw one come in. Let's see what this question is. I don't see it. For some reason, it's cutting off the question and I can't see it. No. I don't see the question. Sorry about that. We're having technical difficulties with the question. Well, I will look at the question afterwards and I will answer any questions that you may have. Thank you again for joining. Hope you have a wonderful end of the month. And if you have any questions, please, of course, feel free to reach out to me and the CDO. Also check out like the other webinars that we've had in the past. Last month, we had a webinar on transferable skills for a career reinvention. We've had one on Insider's View on Hiring. And we will be having a lot more in the future. If you have questions about anything I've said and you're too shy to ask me questions today, please feel free to reach out and schedule an appointment with me for a one-on-one. Thank you so much again for joining us and have a wonderful day.